From the heart of Hawkeye Nation comes the show that dissects the plays, debates the calls, and celebrates the victories. This isn't just a podcast. This is your unfiltered access to the mind of two diehard fans. They live and breathe black and gold, and they're here to give you the honest, raw takes you won't find anywhere else. Get ready for deep dive analysis, passionate debate, and a unique perspective on the team you love. This is Punting is Winning with JD and Keith.
Welcome back, Hawkeye fans, to another episode of Punting is Winning, your all Iowa podcast. We are your host, Keith and JD. Welcome back. Sorry for the hiatus. I had some things pop up on the radar that I wasn't expecting. Kind of took some of my time away and didn't have a chance to do this last week like we anticipated. But we're back, back with a vengeance, as they say. Got lots to talk about, so let's just get right into it. Let's start with question of the week from 2 weeks ago. What portal transfer do you think will have the most, for football, will have the most impact on the football team? Didn't really get a lot of response to that. I think the one response we did get was that there wasn't going to be any of them that have a impact on the team. What are your thoughts?
The running back maybe out of was it South Dakota? Phillips, I believe is his name, isn't it? LJ Phillips.
Yep.
I think he's the one that'll probably it'll probably see the most on the field. Him and Kamari Moulton, and I hope Nathan McNeil. I hope he gets to play a lot in his sophomore season.
I have a feeling he will.
Yeah, typically Iowa does run 3 to 4, depending on what they've got for depth out there continuously. Everybody gets a little bit. Obviously Moulton will probably get the most snaps, and after that, it's if LJ can get onto the playbook and learn what his blocking responsibilities are. Of course, that's always going to be first and foremost. You got to be able to protect the quarterback if you're in there. You got to learn how to block and keep him off the quarterback's blind side. So that will determine a lot on how much he plays, I believe.
I'm going to go a slightly different direction. I think the ones that will have the biggest impact on the team, honestly, I think the safety from James Madison is going to get quite a bit of play. He's going to have a big impact. And I think one of the two wide receivers, either James or Diaz, will have an impact, whether that be through the receiving side of things or on special teams. We'll wait to see. But I think one of those two wide receivers is going to have a significant impact on the team this year, in my opinion. Well, and not to say that like LJ Phillips won't either.
Right. If we can just keep everybody healthy through spring and fall, we can keep Reese Vanderzee from getting his ankle twisted or whatever happened walking down the street. We can keep that from happening and have him for a whole season. I think he'll make an impact, a really big impact for Iowa. And I think he'll be probably me number one target. I would guess from whoever the quarterback ends up being. I know there's competition going on with that, and we'll see who eventually emerges number one. I have a feeling that right now the leader in the clubhouse is probably Jeremy Hecklinski, but if he doesn't bring his A game and Hank Brown does, you could see Hank Brown starting the season. It wouldn't surprise me even the slightest.
I don't care who it is that starts as long as they're effective.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I'm not worried. I'm not married to specific names or anything. I just want them to be effective.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants, is just to not let the team down. And that's the one player on the team that if you've got a good quarterback and somebody that can distribute the ball and do what they're supposed to do and do it effectively, then you're going to have a pretty good season. If you got somebody in there that's not, typically the season, depending on how good your defense is, obviously we've been through this before with Deacon Hill, and obviously the defense was very good and it kept us in a lot of games, even when the offense wasn't showing up. So, there is a lot to that, but by the same token, you have a good offense and you have a stellar defense, and you're probably looking at playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, let's jump into the new question, which is what seed do you feel that the men and the women will get in the NCAA tournament, provided that they make it? Men have some work to do to turn around the current trend, although I still think they're pretty reasonably set to make the tournament. I think the seeding will be the biggest issue with that. So yeah, just give us what you think the seeding will be, and we'll go from there.
yeah.
But speaking of seeding, let's jump in. Let's start with the women who have turned things back around.
Yeah.
The ship, so to speak.
Since we had the podcast last time, I mean, I went through that 3-game losing streak, USC, UCLA on the West Coast. Obviously that's difficult to play out there. And then you come back and you just have kind of a letdown game with Minnesota, although, Minnesota's a pretty good team. We have to give them credit. They've really improved over the last couple of years. So, but it was a home loss, and that is kind of unexcusable, especially a team that's as good as Iowa is right now and is playing as well as they are. Then they snapped a streak and they beat Washington at home in a kind of a later game. Yeah. And they beat them by 10. Then you have to travel to Lincoln. Never an easy place to play for Iowa, but they actually made it look easy yesterday. At 11 a.m., kind of a weird time, but President's Day.
What was the deal with that? I don't. Why was there an 11 o'clock start time?
If you remember last year, Iowa played, I think it was Ohio State over there at 11 o'clock early in February. I think we lost that in overtime, or maybe it was double overtime.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
It was
because it was President's Day, and
it had to be because of President's Day. Yeah, I don't think they ran up.
Fortunate enough to have that day off.
4 games in succession, on the Big 10 network. I'm not sure if they did that or not, but because once Iowa was done, I kind of went outside. It was really nice out, so I decided to spend some time in the great outdoors and kind of help make the winter go by a little bit quicker. So
I just felt like a random game on a random Monday in the middle of February. It was like that just seemed weird, but now it makes more sense. I forgot about that yesterday being a holiday because I didn't have it off.
Yeah, there was a lot of them that did. I know the kids in the school district that I'm at, they were off for the President's holiday. And we're not having a tremendously difficult snow weather winter, so they're not getting a lot of winter snow days off. So usually when they get a lot of snow days off, days like President's Day, some of those things they use as a makeup for the days they miss because of snow. Well, we haven't had the snow like we had in other years, and so they were able to get that day off, and it's regularly scheduled, I guess.
Good for them. Like back on our day, you didn't get days off because there was a threat of weather coming. You had to make sure it actually happened.
We can go down that rabbit hole. Believe me, I've got some opinions on this deal, but for the most part, though, I thought Iowa yesterday, they looked the part. They came in with a sense of urgency. They shot the ball very well. Now, Nebraska's kind of having a hard time right now. They've lost 5 straight, 4 straight coming into Iowa. So, how much can you take from this? I guess I think the way that they won the game, they had them down, I think 23 or 26 points at one point. I can't think 23. And then they gave up, 8 straight or whatever at the end of the game. And, they only won, it was at 80-67. So it was, it was like, much worse
than it was.
Yeah. That score is not really indicative of how the game was because Iowa just really had it pretty much in command after the second quarter, even past actually about halfway through the first quarter, they kind of pulled themselves away and then never really were threatened. So that was good. It was nice to see them play a really good quality game. They did turn the ball over a little bit more than I'd like to see. I think they had 17 turnovers, which is no big deal. When you win like that, you have players that are in there that handle the ball a lot. I know there was some steals that maybe shouldn't have occurred. You obviously know that your best ball handler is Chit Chat, right? And she can't play, she's not going to be able to play the whole game. She's not a Bennett Sturtz. Nobody is.
No, if you're up that much, she shouldn't be.
Did you know that she's the number 1% 3-point shooter in all of the women's game?
No.
She's shooting 49.1%, and that leads the nation. So congratulations to Chit Chat. I just read that about an hour ago. So that's good to see. Maybe she can continue and capitalize on that and get some big solid wins coming up, because there's going to be a couple big games coming up. This next one, Iowa women, they're 20-5 right now, and they've got a game Thursday at Purdue, which Purdue is not great. It's a 6:00 start. Purdue is 12-13 and 14th in the Big 10. Then Sunday's the big game for Iowa women. It is a home game with number 6 Michigan. They have lost 2 games in the Big 10, both, I think, to UCLA. No, they lost one to UCLA and lost one to somebody else. Wisconsin, yeah, it could have been Wisconsin. There's an 11:00 game on Sunday. Michigan is 22-4 and second in the Big 10, like I said. The emergence of, we talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago. We talked about when Addie Deal was starting over Taylor Stremlow. I kind of thought, we talked about this and said, I don't know if she's not having the greatest impact as a starter. Let's put Taylor Stremlow in. Let's start her. I think we should start her. And that was before they even did start bringing her in as a starter. And she has really responded. Yesterday she had 17. And I thought at one stretch of the game where things were, I wouldn't call them tight, but it was in a kind of nip and tuck. And Nebraska had scored, I believe they'd gone on an 8-0 run. It kind of tightened it up a little bit. Things got a little nerve wracking. It wasn't like it was real close. And then Taylor just comes out and then steals a couple of balls and then takes it in. And she was kind of instrumental in a kind of it was like about a 12-2 run for Iowa right after that. And pushed it kind of out of reach for Nebraska. But she really responded, and I thought that was fantastic. And from here on out, because obviously Taylor McCabe's not going to come back this year with that ACL out, I'd say you start her the rest of the season, and let her get that confidence and continue to play as hard and as well as she does. I don't think I like her as much bringing the ball up. I don't think she's as good a ball handler as Chit Chat Wright is. I don't know that I like Andy Deal bringing the ball up. I've seen her get her pocket picked more than once. And I'm not sure who our next best, I guess you could call point guard in reserve, so to speak. But we need to find somebody that can handle the ball, because we've seen way too many steals bringing the ball up and just, I don't know if we got to just pass it through and not even try to dribble it, maybe. I don't know. That's up to Jan to figure out, I guess.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Iowa going forward?
I like the fact that they hit some road bumps and they didn't let it derail their season. They got things back on track. They should be favored in all but probably one game going forward. So if let's just say they lose that game, they finish 23-6. That's better than last year.
Yeah,
it's a younger team than last year, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Although younger in some aspects, but veteran in other aspects, where it's like they're young players, but they're more veteran players now because they've had that year from last year, like the Ava Heidens, Taylor Stremlows. So that's a good thing. I can personally say I haven't had a chance to watch them the last 3 games because I haven't been home. So I kind of just watched some highlights and in case of the Minnesota game, some lowlights. But I like the fact that they've responded, and they're back to playing the way they were playing.
One of the things you just mentioned is a good point that needs to be expanded upon. I believe that last year with those freshmen, Stremlow, Heiden, and some of the others that are coming off the bench, getting the minutes that they got last year is really paying off this year. The dividends that just by having minutes and having experience and getting a feel for the speed of the game in the Big 10 and in an NCAAs, going from high school to college is a big step up. And to be able to get the minutes and then run that into the next season and have that much experience is just really paying dividends. You can't you can't substitute for that. Just getting those minutes as a freshman. Addie Deal this year, getting the minutes that she's been getting, that is going to pay dividends next year for her.
Yeah, I know some people are down on Layla Hayes that she's not, she's not a superstar. Well, she's a freshman, and her competition, no offense to kids in Alaska, but her competition was in Alaska. So, yeah, she's got talent. Don't get down on the fact that, maybe she makes mistakes now. All these minutes that she's getting now are going to be very, very valuable next year, because it's going to be her and Hannah, or not Hannah, Ava. And there's not going to be a Hannah Stuelke next year. And there's going to be times where they're going to be playing together because it's going to be out of necessity. And this is just valuable time for her to get in there and get her feet wet, even if she's making mistakes. Same thing that happened last year with Ava Heiden. Same thing with Taylor Stremlow, Tegan Mullaney. All those guys had that growing up year, and it's paying dividends this year, I think.
Yeah, Jan Jensen will have Layla Hayes and Ava Heiden working together a lot, I believe, in the summer. She'll go back and she'll look at tape and she'll realize what needs to be done footwork wise, where she needs to place her hands. She can't be hitting, touching people. I know yesterday she wasn't in very long, had like 3 fouls right away. So I was like, she just needs to figure things out. And I believe that just getting the minutes this year for next year will be great. But I think she needs to sit back, and her and Ava need to room together this summer and stay at Iowa and go out and practice every day and work on footwork and shooting and just getting better and working on their weaknesses.
And I think when it comes to Iowa women's basketball, the one position that I'm never concerned with is the forward and center position. Any post player, it's kind of like putting them in the hands of Jan Jensen is like putting a defensive back in the hands of Phil Parker.
Yeah.
You just trust them.
Yeah.
You just know that they're going to do something. They're going to do the right thing. They're going to bring these guys along. They're going to see talent that we don't see. They're going to see things that others don't see, and they're going to exploit those mismatches like that. I don't worry about things like that. Now, from the guard position, I have concerns from the Iowa side because I don't think there's that coach on staff that really is, like we used to complain with Fran of there's no coach on the staff that is teaching defense. I don't know that there's a coach on this staff that's really working on the ball handling and press break as much like they should. And that's where I would be concerned. I'm never concerned with the post players when it comes to Iowa right now, not with the current coaching regime that we have.
Well, my only concern with the post players is that when Ava and Layla get into foul trouble, then that is what concerns me. That's the only thing. I think Ava is fantastic. She's getting some Big 10 Player of the Year accolades, or at least a little bit of run, some publication or promotion for that. And that's great. She deserves it. She's 27 points yesterday and 11 rebounds, double-double. I mean, those are pretty good numbers. So, just right now, all good things. I think we're probably looking at the last thing I saw was that they're being projected as a 3 seed, which is good. That gives them 2 home games, and it's always great to play home when you're starting the NCAA tournament.
I think it would take an utter collapse to get in to drop below a 4 seed at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Stranger things have happened, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, you want to move on to the men?
The women are on a high. The men are on a
low.
They're hitting a speed bump right now for sure. The men are 18-7. They're sitting at 8th place right now. They have a home game. This is a game tonight that they can kind of get back into. This is a quad 1 opportunity, obviously, with Nebraska. It is an 8:00 start. There's a lot of things that Iowa needs to get cleaned up. And it has been showing for the last 2 games how let's just go through a couple of these. Rebounding. They're getting killed on the rebounds. Maryland exposed them on rebounds. Purdue did the same thing. When Iowa needed to get a defensive rebound, they just didn't seem like they could get it. And when you give the other team opportunities to shoot 3 and 4 times, they're going to make it eventually. Yep. So, defensive rebounding, There's not a lot of offensive rebounds to really go with it.
They're not shooting the ball well either.
They're not shooting great. Cooper Koch is going through a 3-point drought right now. He's not hitting them very well. And one thing too, I wanted to bring up is Iowa needs to. I know Bennett Sturts has been All-American playing this year the way he's played, but he can't do it by himself. There needs to be a consistent number 2 scorer. And Iowa doesn't have that right now. I thought maybe Alvaro Figueres could do it and step up. He did a couple games where he had 14 and 15 points. I thought that's great. Then he disappeared. There needs to be that complementary scorer that gives you 14 to 16, maybe 12 to 14 a night, and you can count on that. We don't have that.
Let me ask this question. Do you think, because in the games that I've watched, and again, I haven't had a chance to watch the last 2 games just due to work commitments, but do you feel like some of these guys are hesitant to shoot because maybe they've been told not to?
I've noticed that there has been some opportunities to take shots that looked to me like pretty good shots, pretty quality, high quality shots, and they're throwing the ball out. There was once or twice I saw somebody was driving towards the basket, and I thought they're just gonna this whole thing just opened up for them, and they kicked it to the sideline or to the corner for a 3-pointer. When I thought all you had to do was just lay it up. There was a couple of times I was like concerned that we're passing the ball too much.
Mm-hmm. I've said that before.
Yeah, we're passing the ball. We're passing up quality opportunities for a late in the shot clock desperation shot. I think at times, I think we just run it down too much.
For a bad shot.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's by design. I'd hope that's not by design, but that just seems to be the way it's turning out.
I mean, based on the philosophy and what I've seen, it's like, you want the ball movement to keep the defense moving and to create a better shot while using shot clock. However, if you've got an open run to the basket, take it.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about, I don't know. There was a game I was watching. I don't remember who it was. Team was up. I think it was Villanova and Creighton. And Creighton had cut the lead back down to like 8, and it was like 2 or 3 minutes left to go. Might have been 2 minutes left, and kid gets a steal or gets a long rebound and a kick out, and he runs down and he's got a wide open 3 and he takes it. And I was like, okay, as a coach, you're probably thinking, no, but then he makes it, of course, and you're like, okay, great. That's a situation where you want to kill clock, but you shouldn't have to worry about it if it's like 18 minutes left to go in the half and you've got an open shot. I feel like if that was Iowa, that they would have slowed it up and they'd have waited for the defense to set and they'd have ran the play from the set play or whatever instead of taking the transition opportunity. I just sometimes feel like that's the philosophy is we want to muddy it up. We want to run some clock here. We want to run the shot clock to limit possessions because that's what makes our defense tick is limiting possessions. Or, in certain cases where teams aren't missing, let's go back to the Washington game. You want to limit possessions because you can't sustain them hitting 70%. But there are times where it's like, yeah, you need to take what's given to you instead of passing up a good shot in the hopes that you'll get a better shot, when in reality you get a worse shot.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think we knew going into the season, and it's starting to really rear its ugly head, is the fact that this is not a very tall team. This is a team that is undersized for a Big 10 play. I think they were able to get away with it when they play other teams that are also not tall or not very athletic. But this is something that when you're playing the better teams in the Big 10, you're getting run out of your own gym, like by Purdue the other day. It's a glaring weakness, and I really would love to see, and I realize that Ben didn't have the opportunity for a season in the Big 10 yet. This is his first season, obviously, but he's going to understand what type of player he's going to need going forward, and he's going to have to go out and find that player either through recruiting, the high schools level, or he's going to have to go out to the transfer portal and find a nothing else, a big. I know Trevin Jurak's a pretty good sized kid, but he's still young. He needs the time. He's not getting the time in conference that he probably needs. Only through like a fouls or something like that. If we're in trouble with fouls, is the only times he's getting playing time. I think Tate Sage should get more playing time. I really do. I think he should play either over Isaiah Howard or Cale Combs. I know they don't play the same position, but I'd almost put him in almost to the point ahead of maybe Cooper Koch a little bit at times, because Cooper, he's either hot or cold. He's either hitting threes consistently or he's dead not hitting anything.
And he's not a prolific rebounder either. It's not like he's like, oh well, he's missing his shots, but he's out there, he's still getting 8 to 10 rebounds a game. It was about 2.5, 3.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You got Cam Manio down there. That's what you would call the center forward position, whatever. He's not grabbing a ton of rebounds. He is probably leading the team in rebounds, but he's not being prolific like he needs to be for the team to be successful going forward, especially when you got taller teams. And Michigan coming in, that's going to be a disaster on the boards. They've got way too big a team, and it's going to be like a 40-25 type of deal when it comes to rebounds for them. I just feel like that's the case. The season's a grind. Obviously, you get worn down, you get tired, but right now you're fighting for a chance to go to the NCAA tournament, and you want to stay in the top 8 of the Big 10 to get a double bye for the tournament. And at this point, you got Nebraska twice, good team. You've got Michigan coming up. You got Wisconsin. There's really Penn State. There's really Ohio State. Well, I don't worry about Ohio State because I think they're kind of a paper tiger, and you got them at home. So there's not a lot of opportunities to really turn heads and get some some healthy wins, some quad 1 type wins. You beat Nebraska at home tonight. That helps. That certainly helps. But after that, you've got Wisconsin on the road coming up on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, at 3:00. And that's not going to be easy. Wisconsin's one of them teams that they'll either you beat them by 10 or they run you out of the gym by 25.
Yeah.
And I think up there, the latter is probably more like could be the case.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, this is a different type of Wisconsin team than years past, but that's the other thing is we say a lot of things about teams, but we don't, that's the lack of size is a big issue, but we don't know how the defense is going to be on those teams when it comes to their shooting. Now, last couple of games, it hasn't really mattered. They've seemed to shoot well regardless of the defense. But until I've had a chance to see them play these teams at least once, I'm still going to give us a puncher's chance in pretty much any game. I'll even say Michigan. I'll give us a puncher's chance. Do I think we're going to win? No. But I'll give us a puncher's chance because I've seen other teams that aren't as good as Iowa take Michigan down to the wire.
Well, believe it or not, from what I've seen, Nebraska tonight, Iowa's actually favored.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. So it's hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put my money on Iowa, to be honest, but especially with these 2-game losing streak and as bad as they've looked, especially on the rebounding side of it, that to me is, if you give the opportunity to the other team for more shots every possession, it's going to hurt you.
You're going to get burned.
Yeah, you're going to get burned. And that's my biggest complaint about Iowa's the lack of rebounding at this point.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the next 2 years has in place for rectifying that. So
I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of recruits and what kind of players he's going to be able to bring in, and because he now knows what the Big Ten's about. So, he's going to have to figure that part out. So.
Well, shall we move on? And we teased this a couple of weeks ago, a little football action here, a little football.
Yeah.
Okay. Noticed.
So to remind folks from last week or 2 weeks ago, I teased something I wanted to kind of bring to the light that I don't know if a lot of people have. And it comes down to football, Iowa football, and season opening Big 10 games. Now, what I did was I went back to Kirk Ferentz's first year. And when you add up his first year all the way to the new season coming up in 2026, since the schedule has already been announced and is already out, I went through from 1999 through the 2026 season, and I went through every team, and I decided to see of those 20, it's 28 years. And these are just the teams that are only 28 that have only been in this, like there's 11 of them. So there's the Big 10 plus Penn State. So with the new season out and the schedule coming out, I just added all that together. And then I wanted to see every team's from 1999 to 2026 opening game, home or away.
Well, you ready for the big reveal?
And I want you to throw that graphic up for me, if you would. It's going to be shocking.
Okay.
So what I did here was I've got this graph that my wife put together for me because I don't have the technical knowledge to do it myself. But here is every team that is a Big 10 team that was around in 1999. So they'll have all 28. And if you look at this, you'll see that Wisconsin has played 13 away games and 15 home games. That is like, these are opening games of the Big 10 season. Conference opening games, not season opening games, but conference opening games. Purdue has played 9 away and 19 home. Penn State has played 18 away and 10 at home. And it's funny because you got Ohio State, because you think to yourself, oh, they're the darlings of the Big 10. Everybody loves Ohio State. Well, they played 12 away and 16 at home. Northwestern's played 16 away and 12 at home. Minnesota, 15 and 13, and they are away to home. Michigan State, 14-14. Congratulations to the schedule makers. They got them right at 50%. Michigan, they've played 11 away games and 17 home games to start every Big 10 season. Now, here's the one that is there to me. You tell me, is there a bias? Iowa's played 20 away games and 8 home games in the 28 seasons that Kirk Ferentz has been at Iowa. Conversely, let's go back and look at Purdue here a little bit. I don't know if there's a bias towards the state of Indiana, but if you look at Purdue, they played 9 away and 19 home. Now you go down to Indiana, also an Indiana team, obviously. They played 8 away games and 20 home games in that 28-year period. Of course, adding 2026, which hasn't been played yet. And then you got Illinois, 16 home and 12 away. Something doesn't seem right here to me. Why would Iowa play 20 out of 28 opening games on the road, including next year when they have to go to Michigan to start the season? That seems to me to be ridiculous. Now, I do want to caveat to this and say that if this is if neither team playing a home game, I added whoever was considered the home team. So like when Nebraska and Northwestern played, I don't know if they played in Dublin, Ireland or whatever, one of those two teams was considered the home team. Even though they didn't actually play on their home field. I used whoever was considered the home team in that game, and I put them as a home. So,
no, but that shouldn't have mattered because it would only affect Northwestern because Nebraska wasn't part of this.
Right. But it's also, Northwestern is because it is in their 28 seasons.
The interesting thing that I wish you kind of taken the time and gone a little bit further with that is to show how many of those home games were wins and how many of them were losses. You know, like say Iowa's 20 road games. How many of those 20 road games did they win? How many of those 8 home games did they win?
Yeah, I didn't add those up.
I would just be curious. It's not that it really matters. It's
but
just a curiosity thing. I
can tell you who Iowa played every one of their opening games from 1999 to 2026. I can tell you every one of those. I've got that listed right here. Now, on the other teams, I didn't do that. I just went, is it home or was it away? Now, Iowa, I went through 99 where they played Michigan State, 2000, Indiana, Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, on down the line. And I can tell you whether it was an away or home game on this. I can't tell you the scores. I don't know who won each one, because I didn't put that in there. But I also did, just for fun, even though they're not listed on here, I do have Nebraska, since they've been in the Big 10. They played 7 home and 9 away. Rutgers has played 7 home and 6 away. Maryland, 6 home and 7 away. And then I did UCLA, I believe, was 3-0 at home, and USC was 0-3 at home. And I think, if I remember right, Oregon and Washington, I think one was 2-1 and one was 1-2 when it comes to home and away. I don't have that.
Yeah, because you're counting the coming year.
Yeah, I am counting the coming year.
Yeah.
Since that schedule is already out. So what are your thoughts? Does it seem kind of odd that Iowa would be, and we're Iowa fans, obviously, and that's where we're going to look at, but 20 times out of 28 on the road to start the season in the Big 10? What's up with that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. And then to have Indiana, who, traditionally has not been great. They have been better lately, obviously national champion. 8 away and 20 at home. What gives? I think that if the schedule makers really had this correct and really thought about this, and I don't know if there's a bias towards Iowa or what, but if they should be able to make this a little bit less, there
shouldn't be much more than about a 2-game differentiation.
2 to 3 at the most would be, the variations, like, I don't know, out of the 28 games, let's say Iowa played 16 away and 13 at home. I wouldn't be so upset. Well, I'm not really upset, but I'm just saying this is ridiculous. 8 out of 28 home games.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, is there a bias? Is the Big 10 head office in Rosemont, Illinois screwing Iowa when they look at the schedules and they do the schedules every year? It sure does look like it.
And the thing of it is there's 20 on the road and 8 at home. And that since 2011, every other one to end the year is on the road.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're giving you, you're starting out, 20 games, 20 of your, home openers have been on the road, but at least those years, you had 20 home closers. Nope, that's not the case.
Now, not like it means anything either. Is you got to remember too, with Iowa, every odd year is a 5 home game, 4 away game conference schedule, and every even year is 4 and 5. 4 home, 5 away. So because it's an odd number, it doesn't have anything to do with openers, obviously, but you have to kind of take into consideration that when you have 5 home games, you would think that there's a possibility that you could not only start the season, when you're talking about an odd year like 2025, you could start the season at home and either end the season away or home, depending on Nebraska. Of course, that's who we played the last game of the season. It used to be Minnesota, but now it's Nebraska. So it's going to be every other year. So right now, Iowa plays Nebraska. What was it this year? Did we play them at home or we played them away?
We played them away. We have to play it. We get them at home this next year.
Okay.
Or this coming year.
So, you have to kind of take into consideration that it's a 9-game conference schedule. If they went to 10, I could see these numbers being a little bit better.
I couldn't, but I just think that they're just, I don't know. To me, it feels like if you play a 5 and 4 every rotating year, there should be no reason why your home openers aren't within 2 to 3 of each other. Like you said, 16 and 12, 13 and 15,
right?
Whatever, 14 and 14. The 20 and 8 differential is just ridiculous. The 19 and 9 for Purdue is asinine. The only other team that's getting hosed as bad as Iowa is Penn State, and they're not quite as bad as Iowa.
Right.
They at least got 10, and they're not even original Big 10 members.
Right. Right.
And
so
the interesting thing that to me is the Indiana and Purdue would be numbers that I would have expected Michigan and Ohio State to have.
Yeah. That's kind of when I went into this, my thought was, let's just take a look at the darlings of the Big 10, the Michigans, the Ohio States, hell, maybe even Penn State, but not Penn State. they're definitely not. They're not getting an advantage.
Penn State probably gets a little bit of a punishment for past sins of Joe Paterno.
It shouldn't be that way, though. That shouldn't have any bearing. None of that should have bearing on scheduling. I just can't.
I agree.
I can't wrap my head around why Iowa would spend 20 out of 28 seasons on the road. I'm having a hard time justifying how they can do that to Iowa. And it's funny because you talk about Big 10 openers. You always want to get your best foot forward when you take on your conference opponents. You always want to have your first game, obviously, because you want to get out there 1-0. You want to have a home game. And to start every season 20 out of 28 on the road, that's, to me, is a severe disadvantage to Iowa.
Yeah. Again, I would like to see the numbers that back up what the records are on those road games. Not that you have to look them up right now.
No,
we can maybe bring that up next. Yeah, we can bring that up next week. We can. I think we're about where we can wrap this up and. But yeah, that's interesting. Again, I said, like I said, Purdue and Indiana's numbers I would have expected for Ohio State and Michigan.
Right.
Not that Michigan and Ohio State are that far off, but that I would not have expected that if you'd have said this team played 19 of the 28 years, started out at home, I would not have said Purdue.
Right.
And the same thing would have been with Indiana. I would not have said Indiana was 20.
Right. I can completely agree. That was not what I expected to see. Now, I knew Iowa had started, before I even did this, I said to myself, man, it just seems like Iowa's on the road every single time. It was talked about like 5 to 7 years ago, how often Iowa opens the Big 10 season on the road. And I thought, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. We're not getting as many home games as what we probably should. Let's even this thing out a little bit. Let's give Iowa 5 or 6 games in a row where we're home. It's not going to happen.
I do think that there is a bias in scheduling. Maybe it's an unconscious bias of the schedule makers that they don't realize they're biased, but I think there is one.
I mean, obviously, scheduling is not an easy thing to do when you've got 18 teams and you've got to try to, work with everybody's out of conference schedules as to when you can play these games and to whether it's a Friday night game, Saturday night game. Obviously, all those things are contributing factors on season opening games, things like that. I get it. It's not an easy job. However, I don't want to harp on this too much, but to have a team open 20 times out of 28 on the road is just seems like it's almost like a vendetta of some sort. But I don't want to say that because I don't know that.
And here's another one maybe to stop and think about too. How many times have Michigan and Michigan State been a home opener for each other? So there's a situation where teams like Michigan, even if they're playing on the road, aren't leaving the state of Michigan.
Right.
We had that. I remember had a situation a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, that Michigan played 5 of the first 6 games and never left the state of Michigan. Because I think they played 2 home openers. No, they played a home and away, and one of them was Michigan State. But they're all out of conference was like Western Michigan, and it's just like they never even left the state of Michigan.
Well,
even if they had to play on the road, it'd have been within the state of Michigan.
Yeah, one of the things though about Michigan is that even though I remember, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, their first 5 games, I believe, were home.
Mm-hmm.
So they opened the season at home and also had their second game of the Big 10 season at home. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. What I'll do is I'll commit myself to going through the schedule and just seeing the records of the opening games for each team as through the 28. So whether they won.
What I would do
away games, they won 6 out of the 12 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, just maybe take your graphic and put a black line at the number and put the number in the black or whatever, and then you say, okay, of these 20, they won 13 of the 20. That's
that's
good.
Do that. I'm going to try to do that. That's going to be a lot of digging, but I should be able to do that.
I
I did a lot of digging for this.
You go to Wikipedia, you'll find all those teams' schedules, and you just go year by year, and it won't take that long.
Well, it is. You can do that all the way up to from 2000, I think, and 5. But if you go before that, then you have to go through and actually pull up the team. Otherwise, if
I didn't have to. I can pull up every team.
I go to ESPN 2005, and then you can just click through the years, and it makes it a lot faster. But up to that point, then that's not, to me, unless I didn't find the right one, it wasn't available.
There's a Wikipedia page that you can type up like Michigan football, and it'll tell you. And then it's got a little tab on like a clickable link. It goes, if you set Michigan football 2000, and then you'll have a thing that comes up, a page, and then it'll say previous season 1999, next season 2001. You just click one of those, and it'll go back and forth. Okay. I'll have to show you.
I'll look for that. Yeah.
I'll send you a link to Iowa's, and you can see what it looks like.
But I just kind of thought that was eye-opening. There's nothing we can do about it, but I just thought it was eye-opening. Maybe this will get back to the Big 10 home office, and maybe somebody will pick this up and say, hey, I saw this on this guy's podcast or whatever, and this seems kind of ridiculous. And then maybe it gets back to Rosemont, Illinois, and they decide to take a closer look at the scheduling or algorithms or whatever they do, and who knows?
I doubt it.
I doubt it too. But bringing awareness is the first step to getting it fixed.
Yep. All right. Shall we wrap up?
Let's do that. We'll wrap up. We'll make it a shorter one since it's a little slow right now with football.
Yep. With that, thanks for listening, and thanks for being supporters of our channel. Sorry about the missing episode last week. It was just a scheduling issue, nothing more than that. So we're back at it, and happy to be bringing this to you. And wish you all a great week, and keep listening, keep giving us a thumbs up, support, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Check us out on our social medias, all that great stuff.
We'll see you back here next week.
Give it a go, Hawks, and let's beat Nebraska tonight.
Absolutely. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.